Hey there, this is Eileen, and wow, Disney CEO Bob Iger is in hot water yet again. Why, you ask? Well, it's all thanks to Rachel Zegler, the lead actress in Disney's upcoming Snow White. Just weeks after her controversial comments that alienated nearly 80 million Americans, Disney dropped the second trailer for Snow White, and let me tell you, the audience is not holding back. Brace yourselves. As of December 10th, the trailer has racked up a staggering 800,000 dislikes, compared to just 27,000 likes. Yep, you heard that right. A jaw-dropping 14-to-1 downvote ratio, with the total dislikes quickly closing in on the million mark. It's clear the public is determined to make this movie a box office disaster. So, what's going on? Why is this particular remake causing such a massive uproar? Let's face it, Disney's live-action remakes don't exactly scream cinematic gold. From Dumbo to The Lion King, they've been more meh than masterpiece. But Snow White, this one has managed to turn public outrage into an art form. The reason? A fiery mix of nostalgia, frustration, and Disney's relentless obsession with modernizing its classics, whether we asked for it or not. First, let's get real. Did anyone really want a Snow White remake? I mean, the original 1937 film is an icon, the first ever full-length animated feature. It's still celebrated for its artistry and historical significance. Nobody was banging down Disney's door demanding a redo, but here we are, staring down a remake that feels less like a love letter to fans and more like a cash grab. And it's not just the visuals that are making people cringe. Nope. What's really lighting the fuse is the bold, almost defiant way Disney has rewritten the story, essentially sidelining what made it a classic in the first place. This isn't just another case of bad CGI or a flat trailer. This Snow White remake has sprinted straight into a cultural war. It's not just about the movie anymore. It's about Disney's ongoing battle between nostalgia and its modern progressive agenda. And spoiler alert, it's rubbing everyone the wrong way. So, what does this all mean? It means that Disney's struggle to balance its iconic past with its current creative decisions isn't just frustrating fans. It's alienating everyone. That's why we're here talking about Snow White, a movie that's managed to turn decades of goodwill into one gigantic PR disaster. Let's dive deeper into Disney's Snow White debacle. It's becoming painfully clear that the studio is terrified of creating original content. Instead, they're recycling old ideas, banking on nostalgia to fill theater seats. On the flip side, Disney is fresh off a period of trying way too hard to inject progressivism, or so-called wokeism, into their stories. These conflicting priorities are colliding, and Snow White is caught smack in the middle of this cultural crash. So, what exactly is fueling the outrage? Let's break it down. First up, the dwarfs, or rather, the complete lack of them. Instead of the iconic 7 dwarfs, we were initially promised Snow White and the 7 magical persons. Why? Actor Peter Dinklage criticized the original story for being offensive to little people. Fair enough, but Disney's proposed solution, magical beings, was universally mocked for being, let's face it, ridiculous. Fans weren't asking for this change, and it felt more like a desperate attempt to avoid criticism than a thoughtful update. Then there's the strong female character trope. During the 2010s, Hollywood went all in on creating strong female leads. It was pushed so aggressively, and often so poorly, that audiences grew tired of it. Too much of anything eventually backfires. And now fans are pushing back, and let's not ignore the casting controversy. Rachel Zegler as Snow White. Look, Snow White isn't just a name. it's a description. Her skin is famously described white as snow in the original story. Casting someone who doesn't match this defining trait feels like a fundamental misunderstanding of the character. Sure, race bending can work in some cases. The Little Mermaid proved that with Halle Bailey's fantastic performance as Ariel, but for Snow White, it's literally in the name. Here's the kicker. Many of these changes come across as condescending. Disney seems obsessed with fixing its classics to align with modern sensibilities. But in doing so, it completely misses what made these stories resonate with audiences in the first place. From altering lyrics in The Little Mermaid to cutting iconic scenes in other remakes, these updates feel less like enhancements and more like Disney saying, "We know better than you." Take Snow White. Sure, the original isn't perfect by today's standards. It's a product of its time, but that's exactly why fans love it, for its charm and timelessness. Reworking it to meet modern ideals doesn't preserve its legacy. It erases it. And let's not forget the prince, or rather, his lack of involvement in the story. Early reports suggest that Snow White won't be pining for a prince, and he won't play a significant role in the movie. Fans are asking, what's left of the original story? This entire fiasco is a wake-up call for Disney. For years, the company has been chasing short-term gains by banking on its classics. But with each misstep, it's clear this strategy has limits. You can only alienate your core audience so many times before they stop showing up entirely. Disrespecting Snow White, a film that built Disney's legacy, and alienating half the country isn't just bad optics, it's bad business. And here's the harsh reality. Not all press is good press, especially when your audience feels betrayed. Let's keep this momentum going, because the Snow White controversy just keeps getting hotter. First up, the prince, or should I say, the lack of him. Disney has decided to sideline the prince entirely, framing it as a feminist update. And while nobody in 2024 is asking for a damsel in distress narrative, here's the thing. Snow White was never about waiting for a man to save her. The prince in the original story wasn't the centerpiece. He was a symbol of hope, not the driving force of her journey. The heart of Snow White is about resilience, kindness, and staying true to yourself in the face of adversity. By removing the prince altogether and framing it as a modern fix, Disney is coming across as tone-deaf. Fans aren't asking for a full-blown romance novel here, but they do want the essence of the original story preserved. And this change feels like a forced rewrite of something that was never broken in the first place. And then there's Rachel Zegler. Oh boy, where do we even start? If Disney's creative decisions weren't already a problem, Zegler's interviews lit the match that set this whole controversy ablaze. In one infamous moment, she dismissed the original Snow White as outdated, suggesting that this remake was fixing what was wrong with it. Here's the thing. So many Disney fans love the classic love story. There's genuine demand for that kind of storytelling. What fans don't want is a patronizing lecture about why the original was problematic. Instead of celebrating the legacy of Snow White, Zegler's comments came across as dismissive and, dare I say, elitist. But it wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. Snarky, condescending, completely out of touch with the audience Disney is trying to win over. For example, her remarks about Snow White not needing to be saved by a prince only added fuel to the fire. To many fans, it felt like she was projecting modern ideals onto a story that was never about romance in the first place. Let's face it, this whole Snow White drama isn't happening in isolation. It's the boiling point of years of frustration with Disney's approach to remakes. Fans are tired of seeing the stories they love being dissected, picked apart, and reshaped to fit some arbitrary modern mold. And the worst part? Disney often frames these changes as if they're superior to the originals. That's not just tone deaf, it's outright insulting. Take the decision to eliminate the dwarfs, for instance. It was meant to avoid offending anyone, but instead, it created a new controversy. By replacing the dwarfs with magical persons, Disney arguably robbed talented actors from the little people community of meaningful roles. Even fans who initially supported Peter Dinklage's critique felt that Disney's overcorrection was laughable. This is part of a larger pattern we've seen again and again. Disney making changes nobody asked for, while refusing to innovate where it actually matters. Fans aren't upset because they're resistant to progress. They're upset because these changes feel hollow, unnecessary, and out of touch with what audiences truly value. Alright, let's wrap this up, because things are getting spicy. Rachel Zegler's infamous attitude didn't do Disney any favors. In one eyebrow-raising moment, she essentially told people who don't vote blue that she doesn't need their business. And then she doubled down with, "May you never know peace." Wait, what? That's not just bold, it's downright harsh. This kind of rhetoric alienates people, turning a beloved classic into a battlefield for culture wars. So, what does this all mean for Disney? It's crystal clear. Disney's approach to remakes needs a major overhaul. Instead of trying to fix classics or chasing after modern trends, they should focus on what made these stories magical in the first place. Fans don't want perfection, they want authenticity. Audiences want to see their favorite characters and stories treated with respect, not reimagined to fit some corporate agenda. And most importantly, fans want to feel like their love for these classics is being celebrated, not dismissed as outdated or problematic. This isn't just about Snow White. It's about a pattern of decision-making that feels more performative than passionate. Let's not forget the dwarfs debacle. Disney removed them to avoid offending anyone, but in doing so, they created a whole new problem, taking away opportunities for talented actors in the little people community. Even supporters of Peter Dinklage's critique thought the magical being solution was a laughable overcorrection. Time and again, Disney changes things nobody asked for, while refusing to innovate where it actually matters. Fans aren't resistant to progress. They're tired of hollow, unnecessary changes that feel like they're being made for appearances. At the end of the day, this Snow White drama is a wake-up call for Disney. Audiences want their classics to be cherished, not chopped up and reshaped to fit arbitrary molds. The key to winning back fans: respect the originals, honor the audience's love for these stories, and stop treating authenticity like an afterthought. What do you think about all this drama? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates on woke Hollywood controversies and the latest Snow White news. We'll catch you in the next one.